Today is September 20th, 2025, and today we are meeting Maag. Now, as I say a little bit more about Maag, we're going to just cycle through a variety of transmissions from her. She does come through easily and regularly since first connecting with her. She came through in her very first transmission, which hopefully I can key up to what I'm saying here, August 30th, 2022 at 4:32 p.m. Maag came through in a rendering request from a woman named Catherine Caton, who I've spoken of before. This entire contact has been put out there both in written article format as well as recorded talks that she and I have had that are on my channel that you can access if you like to hear more about this story, how it unfolded, and what our various thoughts are and were on that matter as this contact took place. But Catherine had requested that I reach my consciousness into the crystalline matrix in order to reach her husband, who had recently passed into larger life. And I was very happy to see if I could go in and be of service in this way, and was really just blown away by the chain of events that occurred thereafter. I reached not only Doug himself, but the extraterrestrial dimensions of his consciousness. So he did come through in ET form. We're going to see all of this in just a minute. I'm just going to briefly mention it now. This story is absolutely huge. So first, let me say, relative to Maag herself, that I have simplified her name, and I've done this for a particular reason, which I will mention in just a moment. But the concept, the name concept that came through when I went in for that was in full Maag Hor Ra. And this is three very clear concepts: Maag, Magdalene, or the Magdalene energies, or collective; Hor for Horus; and Ra, who we're all very familiar with. So this moniker encapsulates an enormous story that is connected with the Anunnaki and goes back into Earth's ancient past. But more specifically, Maag herself connects very clearly in my vision to the AZTEC peoples. We've heard in previous videos in this contact series my connection with the AZTEC and information and energy experience that I'm still completing with here in this lifetime in this mind-body construct. So yeah, with the AZTEC peoples, I have a feeling I'm going to be going all over the place in this because I'm not exactly sure how to encapsulate the story in whole. It's that large. Let's start here. When Catherine first made the request, prior to that, the week prior to it, leading into it, I began being taken out of body, and a contact was ensuing between myself and her departed husband. That happened by Doug and or the extraterrestrial dimensions of Doug reaching in and utilizing indigenous pathways within myself that were connected with the indigenous pathways within himself. Specifically, mine being related to the North American indigenous peoples and his to the South American indigenous peoples. And in this out-of-body experience, facilitated by Watumi, who we introduced a couple weeks back and where I very first began to mention this story, he facilitated this event from a craft in nearby space, nearby enough to connect with me through the crystal quite easily. anyway, he facilitated and oversaw and even protected this event while these contacts between two lines of Indigenous peoples met. Now, I, in this experience, was embodied as someone from within one of these lines, which very broadly, again, is North American people, Indigenous peoples. And Catherine was in this experience as well. And the other line of Indigenous peoples, whom the extraterrestrials are behind, and very much a part of what was attempting to connect with me in this experience to put through a certain set of information. The set of information was more related to having some level of detail that could serve as proof, as it were, that the experience happened, that contact was made. And the symbols that I brought back from the experience very much did match that as very much associated with Doug. And so this is what began to let me know, and Catherine know, that contact had indeed been made, and that the transmissions that ensued later when the request was made from the crystal could be, well, these could be received, what's the right word? With more of an awareness of the actuality or truth behind them all. And so let's go ahead now and just, I will show you a stream of transmissions that began coming through the crystal with Catherine's request, in which I feel I very much did connect with Doug himself. So here in this first one, we're going to see the Maag transmission literally break down. You can see components of it within the background. And Doug himself pushes through as a white-skinned extraterrestrial male. Extraordinary. Like in the pictures of Doug himself, I can see the energy, the relative energy that lets me know that, or highly suspect that this is and was Doug. Now, this breaks down even further into a photo of Doug in which he appears very much as he did as a young man or younger man. And one that was actually posted to his website, which made it particularly easy. Now, I'm not going to do the side-by-sides in this particular segment. However, the side-by-sides can be found on the website where I have previously written about this. So if you search these names I'm mentioning on the website, you'll be able to find that information if you have an interest. Okay, so then that broke down even further, and this very interestingly, into the, I'm going to say in between dimensions, but in between dimensions that are very much associated with biblical persona. This being came through with the name Zebediah. Now, this is a name that after I researched, I found does exist within our biblical stories. And I'm not very familiar, in fact, familiar at all with our modern day Bible. And so there's not much I can say about this or why this being came through. He did come through from the spirit realm. There he is a part of a, what's the word? Council is the right word. He is part of a council that I'm getting right now. It's a council of 9 members that is associated with our current Earth life and the unfolding of human consciousness, 3D Earth human consciousness. And not much more on he himself. However, that he came through does say that he's connected with Doug in this attempt on our part to connect with him where he is now. Now, this one, get ready. I don't even know if you'll be able to see him. This is the extraterrestrial dimension behind that of Maag, that of what is behind, I feel, the Aztec peoples and that whole time frame here on our planet. When I take my gaze into this frame, my mind goes into almost a complete schism. I almost can't hold my attention here in 3D physical space. It does begin to break me down into a whole new place and time and level of being, and even being in my own right. And here we can begin to see the species behind some of our own. I cannot identify it in whole, but I can certainly see, and I'm going to bring Maag back in here now at this time, and especially in her first transmission, we can see in her facial features that of the species of the primate, and how that is connected in some way, shape, or form with this whole endeavor, this query that we took in to begin with, to reach the specific contact that we had. I cannot break down all of this information. Well, let me take that back. I can if I sat down and deliberately went in for it. But right here, right now, in this moment, I cannot, and I have not in the past, and so I can't really say much more about that. However, I do clearly see the primate. However, we will see as Maag begins coming through, not necessarily as connected with the Aztec people, but more in and as herself. And we'll just see again a series of slides that takes us here to someone appearing quite Earth human in appearance, and someone who has come through into my conscious state of attention through that of the crystal in a very different format. Indeed, I was beginning to explore the out-of-body state and the in-between states through the crystal, and reached a void experience in which a very clear sentence was coming through to me that simply stated between the visual and the void. And that's when this being came through. I just saw her swimming, as it were, through a void with particulate structures. Fascinating. I'll see if I can find that and maybe put it up here. But this one in which she appears in the more Earth human type of format. It's interesting. I can almost say less about that than I can about the others. I do seem more heavily connected and interested in the extraterrestrial dimension, but it is interesting that Maag herself has come through, pushed through in the more Earth human looking format. And so perhaps this is just information that's letting us know that she has and does incarnate here as a 3D Earth human. And this is perhaps one such form or format in which she has. Okay. That's about all I can say. Maag Hor Ra. Magdalene Horace Ra. To encapsulate the story in whole behind this whole transmission. And Maag, which I will say now, when I take my gaze into hers, I very clearly see and feel my maternal grandmother. It's the first thing I see. And so this might be why this information was left for me. I will also say now, recorded and stored in the crystal. There is a very particular place where I know to go within this crystal that takes me into where Maag is, where she stands as the placeholder, behind which is this enormous story, first in connection with the AZTEC, but then on a larger scale involved in the ancient past of modern man, Earth's history. And gosh, I'm going to get lost just in having said that now, but yeah. So let me just say maybe a little bit more about that. I have mentioned before in the past, and you can find this information both on the website in articles and on the YouTube channel in recorded videos, in articles and segments titled The Crystal Work Explained. This is where I attempt to do a deep dive into how this all happened, what it is, and how it works. It is not a completed product, but there is quite a lot out there along that line where you can read and listen to more about that. I just lost my train of thought. Easy to do in this overall transmission. Back to Grandma. Yeah, that there is a direct connection with me and all of this, with Maag along the line of my maternal grandmother, who I will say whose name, she went by the name Marge, short for Marjorie. This was not her first name, but her middle name. And there are components within it that connect with Maag, Magdalene, that whole collective and energetic. And perhaps why it was pre-recorded, stored and left here for me in the crystal to access more in detail as I wish, as time allows. There are stories that are stored in this crystal. They are not the live calls that often come through. They are entire stories, entire data sets, literally stored right here for me, placed in our 3D Earth life field for me to connect with and find and begin to work with, to begin to break open and bring through these data sets, these stories, for what purpose we either are seeing now or will see. And well, we will see in fuller detail as time comes, but yeah, just so fascinating. I will literally never tire of this. There is no end to what I can access in consciousness through the crystalline matrix in this way, in this visual, photographical, optical way. So, Maag, a corporeal, fully embodied, galactic level being, connected with my own maternal grandmother, connected with the Aztec peoples and that timeline or time frame here in the 3D Earth life, and on a greater scale, connected with the extraterrestrial beings. Well, engaged in, participating in, constructing the Earth life story, beginning in what we ourselves would simply call Earth's ancient past. An enormous story. We'll see if I ever break it down in full. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and recede now. That's been quite a mouthful. If anyone would like to connect with Maag or Maag Hor Ra or any of this whole story, you will now have a moment to do so. Spheres within spheres within spheres. This has been Maag, Maag Hor Ra. We will be back again soon with the next being.